200 weeks into the Modi government, and we must admit with great regret that it has blown the fortuitous opportunity it got to repair India's crisis-ridden public sector banks, PSBs. He got a single-party majority in Lok Sabha after 3 decades of relatively weak coalitions, and oil prices dropped to under $30 per barrel, giving him a surplus of nearly 1 lakh crore rupees. That's 1% of GDP every year. But 4 years out, PSBs have keeled over and are dying. Already dead, some would say. Just look at some of these numbers. PSB's share of total market capitalization of Indian banks has crashed. It was 43% in 2014, it's 26% in 2018. While private banks doubled their value, adding over $100 billion in these 4 years, PSBs wiped out nearly $50 billion from their already emasculated valuations, despite $10 billion of equity infused by the government with a promise of another $35 billion over the next 2 years. PSB's share in deposits is also down by nearly 4 percentage points, from 80% to 76%, but their portion of outstanding loans has fallen by twice. That's by 8 percentage points, from 79% to 71%. So profitability is in a deathly downward spiral. The so-called bold move to issue bank recapitalization bonds is equal to using a Band-Aid to cure cancer. It's actually a sleight of hand that converts a bank's liabilities into assets but hides the contingent liability that actually increases the government's fiscal deficit invisibly off the balance sheet. So now, is it possible to construct a politically feasible plan to begin privatizing public sector banks? Yes, provided you are not seen to be selling the family silver to crony capitalists, not throwing away government equity at today's distressed values, not working against the interests of the bank's workforce. So here's a typical case study to show how to do the impossible. Number one, pick a small public sector bank, say with a distressed market capitalization of about 25,000 crore rupees. 2, assume that the state owns 60% of this bank. Now, reclassify its capital structure to convert the government's equity shares into 10-year compulsorily convertible preference shares, that's CCPS, which are separately listed. Remember that CCPS are equal to equity under Indian accounting standards, so the government's ownership shall stay fully intact, but it will lose its voting rights, and that's good because that allows a new owner to come in without the government crimping his management. Next, you transfer 9% of those CCPS into an employee stock pool. Now liberally grant options to the workforce and win their support for the plan. Finally, allow only individuals, professionals, Indians, people with stellar track records, either singly or in groups, to bid for a 10% management stake in the asset. Now, even if the winning bid were to be at twice the distressed value, which we assumed was 25,000 crores, even then a 10% management stake would cost an fairly easily raisable, you can get funding from private equity players of about 2,000 crores. But why only 2,000 crores, you would ask? Because at the doubled market cap of 50,000 crore rupees, 60%, remember 60% government ownership has already been converted into CCPS, so therefore it doesn't have voting rights. So therefore to get 10% voting rights, you only have to pay 2,000 crore rupees. Bingo! The privatization is done. There's no charge of crony capitalism because individual professionals have got management stakes. No government sale took place at today's throwaway price. In fact, if the asset was to multiply 10 times in 10 years, and that's happened in other cases, so it's not something unusual, if it multiplies 10 times in 10 years, the government's 51% CCPS stake would be worth 1.25 lakh crores. And that's up from the 15,000 crores of the current distressed valuation. And look at the bonanza for ESOP holders, that's the bank's employees, who would see their 9% stake go up to 25,000 crore in value, and they will therefore support this scheme. So, Mr. or Miss new Prime Minister in 2019, please ignore bureaucratic naysayers and give this scheme a shot, give this idea a shot. It's doable. And once this one is successful, others will jump onto the bandwagon, and India would have solved its most intractable economic problem with full political endorsement. So, we must all keep the faith.